Welcome to Atlanta Braves Chop Live, and my name is Sean O'Malley, and we have a special guest, Kevin Liles, the Atlanta Braves photographer, and we're going to let him share a little bit behind the scenes of what he does and the face behind the pictures we often see. His work's been seen by millions of people around the world and shared by millions, and some of the greatest shots that you see from the Atlanta Braves come from the behind the lens of Kevin. And so we'll get Kevin to introduce himself and a little bit about where you're from and how you got started in photography, and then we'll eventually move on to how you got to the Atlanta Braves.
Sure. Yeah. So, Kevin Liles, nice to meet you. Thanks for bringing me on. I really appreciate this. This is really cool what you guys are doing here. I started in photography in 2000, or I basically I found photography, or photography found me. Around 2002, I had gotten a job as a general assignment reporter for the Moultrie Observer down in Moultrie, Georgia.
Mhm.
And part of that job is taking pictures for your own stories, right? It was a small daily newspaper, and we had a staff photographer, but we only had one, and well, there were two reporters, a very small staff, obviously, two reporters, one photographer. But he couldn't photograph every story, and so I would have to photograph a lot of my own stories. So they handed me a Canon 8E1 film camera and a 50 millimeter lens, and said, "Here, shoot pictures." And I got like probably a 10-minute tutorial from John, the photographer, on how to use it. Had never taken pictures professionally in my life. I mean, I think I had a point and shoot camera when I was a kid, but my story's not one of those stories of like my grandpa gave me a, Kodak when I was 10 and I learned photography. It wasn't like that at all. So they handed me the camera and I had to take a lot of my own pictures. And a really good friend of mine, Jason Mizek, was a photographer for the Tifton Gazette right up the street. And we had both went to Valdosta State University and studied journalism a little bit. Well, I say a little bit. He got a degree. I didn't finish. I finished later on. But at any rate, Jason was a photojournalist at the Tifton Gazette, and I really decided I wanted to be a photographer. And so I would go see him as much as I could and just try to learn as much about photography as I could between taking pictures for my assignments and learning from Jason and other photographers. I was emailing photographers all the time, like at the AJC, the New York Times. I was emailing Nat Geo photographers asking questions. So that's how I got started. I worked in newspapers until 2007, and I wanted to go work at a large newspaper like the Atlanta Journal or Chicago Tribune, just a large metro daily newspaper. And you had to have a degree to do that. So I went back and finished my degree at Clayton State University. I had landed at the Griffin Daily News. I worked in Moultrie and then Hartwell at the Hartwell Sun, and then Griffin. I hope my story's making sense here.
Oh yeah.
I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I was in Griffin and I wanted to work at a large paper, so I quit the paper and went back to school full time at Clayton State and studied media studies. They didn't have a journalism degree or photojournalism degree. And I also started assisting other photographers, and I became a full-time assistant with Bob Rosado, who was a staff photographer at Sports Illustrated. So I was an assistant with him for about 4 to 5 years while I finished my degree. It took a while. I had to go back and take a lot more classes, and I took a couple of semesters off because I was working so much with Sports Illustrated. And so I graduated 2011, and then started freelancing full time in 2012. I didn't get a job because there were no jobs to be had. The Great Recession had happened, and I graduated, and there were just no one was hiring photographers, staff photographers. It was a really hard thing, still is. But so I started freelancing, and I've been full time independent photographer since then.
Well, that's pretty amazing. I love hearing the beginning of people's stories, and the hard work that goes into it and the determination, and there's so many different times that people can give up on their dreams. You saying that, hey, there's no openings, maybe I need to get into something else. Um,
Yeah,
but you see so many different scenarios and those type of situations where people just keep on going to their dream. Even like the baseball players, the people you're around, and you look at Snit, the Braves manager, how many
yeah,
years he's wins the organization.
decades, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think he's
yeah,
pushing. close to 50. Whoever thought that he'd be the Braves manager, he never thought that. And so the
Sure.
stories behind baseball, this is what we kind of want to look at. So in essence, so how is it that you went from there to end up from freelance to end up being connected with the Atlanta Braves?
Sure. Yeah. So I started full time, freelancing in 2012, and around 2014, I started shooting for not just assisting, but shooting for Sports Illustrated on a contract basis. And then I moved on to start working for the New York Times and the Washington Post, some other larger publications like that. And I did a lot of news as well. I come from the newspaper world, so I shot a lot. Portraits, news, sports, features. I did it all. But sports remained a big part of what I was doing. Like I said, I was working a lot for Sports Illustrated, and I did athletics for Clayton State University. I did all of their athletics for a couple of years there. And I started working with the former team photographer, Puya Dianat. He was there for about, I think it was 9 years. He was there, 9 or 10. And, he was there before I took over. And so I'd been working for him, for the Braves through him. So I had relationships, that way. And then, that position came open in 2018, and, got the job then. And I will say, it's a contract. So I'm not a staff employee with the Braves. I have a contract where I'm take care of the team photography needs, which includes, obviously the home games, not away games, events and other things like that. So
Mhm.
it's you know, it's a more than just games that I take care of. It's some of the marketing needs and other things like that as well.
So whenever you have like the beginning of a season, you do those photo shoots and stuff like prepare for that, and that's part of the setup you do.
Yeah, like in spring training, we do all the
Right.
portraits for the yearbook, and we use those throughout the year in all kinds of ways. And that's a pretty wild week. We set up for a few days, and then we have like 3 or 4 days, and it's just wide open. It's you. I get a player, like I might get Acuna for like 3 minutes.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Maybe five. It's not a lot of time. These guys have to go through, they call it a car wash. Like they have to go through a bunch of different stations, right? They're like a
Uh-huh.
video station. All those, when you're at the game, all those little video snippets you see, little
Right.
interviews of them, or most of them are done at spring training.
Hmm.
Or those little games they play where they stick their hand in the box and try to figure out what it is, or like all those little snippets like that. Most of those are done at spring training. So there's just a lot that goes on down there. And but yeah, I mean that I get a lot done there during that week. It's a like I said, it's a pretty hectic time. That week we go down there. It's the week before games actually start.
Hmm. So I imagine with all the different people coming in, they're on open roster, minor league invitations, and you're just getting everybody in, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the expanded, or not expanded roster, but it does include the invitees and different folks. It's not
Mhm.
just not just the main guys. So it is definitely a lot of guys who come through there. And then
Okay.
there's minor league stuff that happens later. We get some headshots of all those guys too. So it's a lot.
Now, you mentioned that you don't do away games. So who is it that captures some of those Braves pictures, or where do y'all get those from when you see an
So
away game?
most
That's
of
it.
so there's a couple. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I know you can explain that portion there.
Yeah. So there's two ways. One, well, there's wire services like the Associated Press,
Hmm.
Getty Images, USA Today, Sports Images. They provide content that we can pull from. And there's also what are called live content creators, LCCs, and those are basically social media photographers, videographers that work for MLB. Some are staff, some are contract. Uh, I believe every team has at least one LCC. So, like in Atlanta, we have two LCCs. We have or more. There's always at least one or two there. One's doing photo, one's doing video. Generally speaking, sometimes it overlaps. And they provide content that goes to MLB and to the players, the teams and the players as well, for both clubs. So the home team and the visiting team. So when they're on the road, the Braves, we pull from like those wire services, and we also pull from those LCC photographers and
Hmm.
videographers.
So share your experience you have with the personally, not like personal relationships, but like what your day consists of, like from going to the stadium and
Yeah.
yeah. We've interviewed Justin Tuscany from the AJC, the news reporter, and he kind of
Hmm.
shared about what his day consists of. You know, what time he goes to the ballpark, and he a
Yeah.
couple hours he does it. So, what would your day consist of as a Braves photographer?
Yeah. So a normal, let's say a normal 7:20 start. I'll get there about 3:30, 3 to 3:30, somewhere in there. We have BP starts at 4:30. So I want to get to my locker and get my equipment and get it all set up. I have an assistant photographer, Matthew Grimes Jr., who helps
Yeah,
me. And so we both arrive at the same time. We get our equipment set up. We go out to the field, get our equipment out there, get ready, go ahead and get that in place. And then, shoot a little bit of BP, you know, talk about the stories of the day, if there's anybody we need to focus on during BP, or, obviously when there's like a debut or some news angle or something's happening, we try to focus on that and take care of those needs. Um, BP's from like, I don't know, 4:30 to 5ish. We go grab a bite to eat and go over. We have a shot list every day. A big part of this, or not a big part, but part of the shot list is also like sponsorship needs. So like there's a ton of signs that run in the stadium that are like rotating or LED signs that run, like, let's say, the bottom of the fourth inning, or whatever.
mm,
We have to make sure we capture those as well. So we come up with a game plan on who's going to capture what, and our positions. We're gonna what there's several different photo positions we can shoot from, so we talk about that and just go through the plan. And then we're on the field by, like, I don't know, 6:15, 6:30, and just kind of settle in and get ready and just get ready for the game. There's a lot of well, not a lot, but there's pregame stuff we have to get every game. National anthem, ceremonial first pitch. Sometimes there's what's called an honorary team captain that goes out with the coaches and the umpires. They exchange rosters and talk about the rules and all that. And I get that, and then the person who says play ball, we have to capture that as well. So we've got that kind of like as a routine. We don't have to talk too much about that. We know who does what, and then get ready for the game. And then just stay in contact. Matthew and I text each other and say, okay, I've got to edit now. Can you cover and make sure that we cover everything or whatnot? And then throughout the game, we're uploading pictures to our server so that social media and other folks can grab pictures live during the game that they need for social media or whatever other needs we have. And then at the end of the game, we finish our edits and caption and keyword them and make sure all the metadata is correct, and then put them on our online archive and are walking to our cars about, I don't know, 11 midnight
oh wow,
when it's all said and done. Yeah.
all the editing. So when y'all do
Yeah.
yeah, y'all do those photos, and those a lot of those photos kind of go viral, I guess you could say. Like you said, maybe you have a great catch by Acuna on the wall, or I think one of
Mm.
y'all did Kevin Pillar diving for a ball and it was like midair,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
yeah. And so a lot of those, I guess those are like free to grab or whatever to share. You see those shared all over social media. Um, so you see that quite often where different social media people grab that, or different maybe news organizations, they'll share those and stuff like that.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't know where those photos came from. Like, it could be from, an AP photographer or Getty, or, it's hard to know exactly who shot it. Sometimes, it's our pictures, mine or Matthews. And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun when that happens, when a big moment um, takes off like that Ozzy walk off against the
Oh
Mets.
yeah, the bat in the air.
You know, yeah, yeah, like that one was really cool. That turned into a Topps Now baseball card.
Wow.
So that was really cool to see, because like the front and the back are both my pictures.
Oh
The
wow.
front is the bat toss, or bat flip, and then the back is of the Gatorade bath at home plate after he made it around. So that was really a friend of mine's getting one, so I can't wait to actually see it.
And the Braves have edited that photo too because they're promoting the All-Stars. So they're
Yeah,
promoted about they put the coffee mug, I guess. Front of us. So vote
yeah,
for Ozzy with the coffee. That's their theme about trying to get the Braves to the All-Star game, which I think he's in second
yeah.
place currently. And
Yeah, we've got six. I think the whole infield is second or first
yeah,
in voting.
that's pretty cool. And I mean, how often do you hear that? Hardly ever.
That's
Hardly ever.
wild, isn't it? I mean, we had five last year,
Yeah.
uh, so it wasn't the whole infield though. Um, I don't think. Yeah, yeah, it was five, including Snit. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was. It's incredible to see that.
No,
Um,
no, I've
you
actually
know,
seen you running onto the field
hmm
where you get like, let's say somebody hits a home run, Acuna's grabbing the water cooler, and then and then
yeah,
water starts going, and then y'all get those cool shots of remember Travis d'Arnaud with water all over him in the air, and he's like right in the middle. So as soon as you see one of those, boom, the game is over. Y'all get to run onto the field and start recording, taking those pictures there, right?
yeah, yeah. That's a lot of fun, and it's you know, it's hit or miss sometimes because if the player you never know which way they're going to turn, right? So like you try
Hmm.
to get in a position because they're in like a huddle, and so you obviously want to get your camera in front of them without being intrusive, because it's their moment. You don't want to be
Hmm.
like right in the middle of
Hmm.
it, and but you just want to capture it. So it's a kind of a little dance where you want to capture it, but you don't want to be in the way. Uh, and It's funny because I remember when Sean Murphy had his walk off a couple of
Hmm.
months ago. I ran out there and Charlie Morton like moved me out of the way. Later on, I was like, Charlie, I'm so sorry, man. I didn't mean to be in the way. He didn't even remember it. You know what I mean? Like, because everybody's such in the moment. But, that's one thing you don't want to do is be in the way. Like, you really just try to be on the outside, a little bit on the edge of it to capture. And uh, it's a lot of fun, but, you gotta try to be in the right position. That last one with Ozzy, I got really lucky. I thought I was gonna be photo the way like we're not screwed, but just get his back. Like he was running and he went past me,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh man, he's gonna be celebrating like that way. And then all of a sudden he turned around, it was right here. And so it was really the luck plays a big part of that too. Just being in the right spot and having the player turn, which hopefully in your direction.
Y'all get a lot of Washington shots too when the players coming around and giving them the high
Oh
five,
yeah,
Eddie Rosario and stuff like that. So do y'all got like,
yeah.
is it you or Matthews like, hey, I got that picture. So when y'all focus on that or
It just whenever there's a home run, basically we are both just photographing the whole thing because
mm,
like if you're on the third base side, you're going to get him rounding first, maybe with the bench in the background, and then coming around second. Coming around second, they're usually there's not a whole lot of reaction, just kind of trotting. Third, of course, with the long lens, it gets really tight at third. But then as they come around to Washington, it can be really cool. And one of the coolest pictures, I got a snippet of it. I got kind of blocked, uh, but is when, like what I was going to say, I got a snippet of Travis d'Arnaud. He came and was given Wash Five, and then he turned around and smiled at him, and it was smiling and turned his head as he went past him.
mm.
So you got to see the back of Wash's head and Washington, and then you got to see d'Arnaud smiling, but it's just part of his face. But that's a cool shot too, yeah. And then obviously coming into home plate, the high fives and all that. We just shoot both of us just both shoot it all the way around and get the best pictures you can.
Yeah, I think I remember one of your pictures where Michael Harris was after he got hit by that ball, like softly. He went down to the ground
Oh
doing
yeah, and you
a
fell on the
Travis
ground.
d'Arnaud, and he was laying on his back, and that image came from above. How's that work? Where do y'all get that from? Those type of
Yeah, so that's
images.
me. That's me on the roof.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I've got a harness and there's a ladder that goes up there, obviously. And when I go up there, actually every time I've gone up there, it's been a day game because the light's better. And I don't know that shooting a game from the roof at night would yield as cool of pictures as daytime. But yeah, I'm on the roof. strapped in, harnessed in, and using a long lens. It's just such a unique angle to shoot up there.
Hmm.
You know, like that picture of him laying down. That doesn't look any, look, then that's not even a picture from the ground because you're just going to get, the top of his head or the bottom of his feet, depending on which
Hmm.
side you're on. So, yeah, that's one of those moments where you're on the roof and that happens. You're like, oh my God, this is a picture. And luckily I got that umpire's hand
Hmm.
in there and he's pointing, which gives you the impression, that he's pointing to go to first, that he got hit.
Hmm.
Because as a viewer, if you just saw him lying on the ground, you don't know if he is like really hurt,
Hmm.
is he passed out, whatever. But I think that hand in the picture really helps, show that he's just, lying there momentarily before he goes to first base.
Yeah, there's another one I remember seeing with Sean Murphy sliding in the home, and he had his hand reaching in, and there was another above ground, whatever, I guess from the roof.
Yeah, no,
So Sean
yeah,
Murphy
and that one
slide,
was
and then
actually that one was actually a remote camera. We can set cameras up there that are triggered with little radios.
okay.
Uh, and so I wasn't on the roof for that, but that was shot. I shot it from a camera on the roof, if that makes sense. So I set it up, before the game and get it all like it's pre-focused and pre-set up, and it's got, like I said, got a little radio receiver on it, and I fire that from wherever I'm shooting from, and then it's got an Ethernet cable, and the images are just showing up on our server as it shoots. So it's
Uh,
really cool.
So you don't have to, do you have to push a button for it to take that shot, or just
Yeah,
automatically?
yeah. I've got a radio that I press a button. So
Oh,
like I have to hold it down. If I just hold it down, it just
uh-huh.
fires, rapid succession. It's like 20 frames a second. So it's a lot of
Oh,
frames
wow.
going.
So is you see that play getting ready to come at home, you're just pushing that button, making sure that
Yeah,
angle's
so I'll
covered.
start pushing it. I'll just hold it down as he gets about halfway from third to home.
Okay.
So, it's probably a good 7, 8 seconds you're holding it down as he comes through.
Oh, wow. So what's one of your favorite shots that you've ever taken?
Oh man, this is always a tough question. You know,
Well, okay,
Sadly, I missed
let's
game
let's
six
break
of the World Series.
let's kind of put different categories. What's your favorite do you have a particular favorite picture you took of not an action picture, but just you know, I guess you've taken several of Hank Aaron, I presume. And have you
I've done a little bit of Hank Aaron.
mhm,
Not a lot. I mean, he came to the games, and he would a lot of times he was seated.
mhm,
I don't know. I don't have a lot of memorable pictures of Mr. Aaron. Uh, um, for me, anyway. There's so many
mhm.
more better pictures of him. Um, one of the coolest moments. I mean, I say coolest, but it was just I loved it. What I was going to say earlier is that sadly I was not at Game 6 of our World Series because I tested positive for COVID, so I missed that game
Oh,
and didn't get all of that. I imagine one of my favorite pictures of all time would have been from that celebration, but it's okay. I didn't get it. We'll get there another time. Um, we were playing the Marlins. I want to say it was 2019. It was definitely before the pandemic, and it was like bottom. No, it would have been top of the ninth,
mhm,
and we were up one, and there was a play at home. Brian McCann was catching, and Charlie Culberson was in left field. And Culberson threw the ball so hard that he became, horizontal with the ground and threw it. And McCann caught it, tagged him out. It's that picture is definitely on my Instagram. I think it's on my website too. But I mean, that I don't know, like that whole moment. I know that's not some like NLDS or NLCS or World Series moment, but like I don't know, that picture to me, it's rare that you get like so much emotion in one picture. You've got the picture is of McCann screaming, like just visceral McCann, caveman scream, and the umpire calling him out, and then you've got I forget the the Marlins player in the background is just like dejected, just like, oh man. And then the fans behind him are all like screaming. So, it's got every element in that picture, and there's several walk-off moments that I really cherish that I photographed. One of Acuna's walk-offs is a picture of him celebrating right around shortstop. Culberson's in that photo. There's a few others. I've got a few favorite moments. It's hard to nail it down to just one. Um, Several of those celebrations leading up to the World Series were absolutely incredible for that 2021 season.
Yeah, I remember that Charlie Culberson. We shared that video right when the Braves picked him up and gave him that minor league contract. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of his nickname was Charlie Clutch. And that was something that was given to
Mm-hmm.
him. Yep. And
Oh
he
yeah.
got really DFA'd now, and maybe he'll sign back
I
for a
know.
minor league contract. Maybe if you don't get picked up by somebody, we'll see what he decides to do.
Yeah, I know.
And
Charlie's such a great guy, man. He's
yeah,
incredible. Nicest guy you'll meet. Just all around great guy. Love
yeah.
Charlie.
They so I know you said you are a freelancer, then you worked for the Braves, but you do have your own work that you do outside of the Braves. You want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I take work from other clients. Like I just did a little bit of a rebrand, or I helped Arthur Blank Foundation with a lot of the rebranding lately. A new website they released, and did a lot of work for them. So that's some folks I work for, and I still do some work for Sports Illustrated. I took the cover photo of Stetson Bennett, that last cover he was on. It was the college slash NFL preview for last season.
Hmm.
So that was really cool. And some other commercial and editorial clients. It's not as much as it used to be, given how much of my time is dedicated to Braves. When they're on the road like they are now, I'm off. As a matter of fact, I'm dressed like this because I'm about to go into the gym here. But I don't work quite as much as I used to when they're on the road. I have two young kids now, and so I try to spend as much time at home as I possibly can. Um, so yeah, I mean, I still do freelance work, and for commercial and editorial clients. It's just not quite as much as it used to be.
Yeah. They we'll make sure we share your information. That way people can find your information, how to get in contact with
Sure.
you, and
Yeah.
because those shots you share, it's and that's one of the reasons why we put together our Facebook page, Atlanta Braves Chop Live, is we want to try to put together as much. One of the things that we say, we're growing, like I said, we're up to like 83,000 and growing pretty good. And one of the things is we do is we put so much Braves content with it. We try to put it all in one location. So like if you have that
Mm-hmm.
great picture you took, and after a walk off, we'll post that and write, via Kevin Liles or Valley Braves. Their video will do like via Valley Braves. We try to give
Mm-hmm.
credit to where we know the source came from. But some people say, "Wow, that's a lot of information you're putting on the page," and that's where we try to be
Mm-hmm.
that one location where you find news, videos, pictures, and definitely appreciate those pictures. But we just want to get a little bit behind the scenes, and but you said you have your partner too. I've seen him online as well. What was his name again?
Yeah. Matthew Grimes
Yeah,
Jr.
yeah, yeah. I've seen him. So how long have y'all been working together?
Let's see, Matthew. I want to say it was 2019.
Uh-huh.
He did an internship with me. He got his degree at Georgia State, and I met him for coffee, and he was had been taking pictures for the athletics program, and like I said, did an internship with me. He did a lot of captioning and kind of archive work for me personally, from my archive, and we've stayed in touch. And then he started assisting me on certain jobs, and his big break came in 2020, the pandemic. Remember I was mentioning those LCCs. I think they're called live. It's either live content creator or licensed content creator.
Hmm.
Anyway, LCCs. He was doing that for MLB. He got hired to do that for the Braves Well, it's for MLB, but you cover the Braves and who are the other team as well. And so during the pandemic, he had field access. And so he covered every single, there was only 30 home games that year. I coincidentally, I did not have field access. I was what they call tier three. I was up in the stands. And it's a long story. But because he was working for MLB, he was on the field. And so he shot every game on the field and was kind of thrust into the spotlight of shooting all these games. And so he really cut his teeth that year and did a great job. And then he started working for us for the Braves, here and there. And then it's just been phenomenal. And so this year we brought him on. And he's helped me. He's helping me at every game, and it's just been great having him. He's such a good photographer, and he's only been shooting, gosh, 5 years or so, I think,
Mhm.
maybe 6 years. He's young. He's 20, 23 or 20. I think he's 24 now. Young guy, but doing a great job. You can find him all over social at Matthew Grimes Jr. Give him a follow. He definitely is putting out some good work.
Well, Kevin, I sure appreciate our time. It's a pleasure to have you. And now when we see those pictures, we know the face behind the camera, and and when we see you running on the field, there goes Kevin and Matthew running on the field to take those
That's
pictures.
it.
So, but
That's
we
it.
appreciate you giving us some of your time of what a Braves photographer does and behind the
Yeah.
scenes and all those wonderful shots. And look forward to sharing your information with the Braves fans on our page.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me, and yeah, I can't wait to see this online.
All right. Well, thank you and chop on. Have a wonderful day.
Yes, sir. You too. Bye bye.
All right. Thanks.